You've probably spent a lot of time scrolling through endless specs pages, wondering if any of those numbers actually translate into a monitor that feels solid day to day, that doesn't steal your desk space. And that won't make you regret the purchase after a few weeks of gaming. You want something that lives up to the hype without turning your setup into a money drain, and you're wary of ending up with a screen that looks gorgeous on paper but turns out to be a hassle in real life. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When I started looking at 39-inch ultra-wide options, the first thing that kept popping up was the LG Ultragear OLED Curve. It's a beast of a screen, almost 40 inches, a steep 800R curvature, and OLED panels that promise true blacks. The promise is tempting, especially if you've been chasing that buttery-smooth 240Hz experience for fast shooters or want HDR that actually shows depth. But the decision isn't just about headline numbers. It's about how that size and technology sit on your desk, how it behaves after hours of menu navigation, and whether the price tag actually buys you a better everyday experience. Let's break down what the monitor does when you plug it into a typical gaming rig, and what that means for you as a buyer. First, the OLED panel. OLED's biggest selling point is the ability to turn each pixel completely off, delivering perfect blacks and a contrast ratio that LED panels can only dream of. In practice, that means your nighttime raids in Valorant or Call of Duty feel dramatically more immersive. The enemy silhouettes pop out of the darkness without a gray halo. The HDR True Black 400 certification adds a decent peak brightness boost, so bright highlights in games like Cyberpunk 2077 are still punchy, even though OLEDs aren't as bright as top-end mini-LEDs. For creative work, the 1.5 million color gamut gives you confidence that skin tones and gradients look accurate when you're color grading footage. The 240Hz refresh rate and 0.03 milliseconds response time are where the monitor really shines for competitive play. In my own testing, a fast-paced FPS stayed buttery smooth, with no visible ghosting when I flicked the mouse across the screen. The combination of NVIDIA G-Sync compatibility and AMD FreeSync Premium Pro means the monitor can lock its refresh to whatever GPU you're using, erasing tearing without needing to manually toggle settings. If you're the type who lives for those 1v1 clutch moments, that fluidity translates directly into a clearer picture of where the opponent is moving. Now for the curve. At 800R, the curvature matches the natural field of view of most people, reducing eye strain during long sessions. I set up the monitor at a typical desk height and found the curve helped keep the edges of the 39-inch screen within my peripheral vision without forcing me to constantly swivel my head. For open-world RPGs like Elden Ring, the extra horizontal real estate gave me a broader sense of the world without feeling stretched or distorted. That said, the curve is also a double-edged sword for productivity. When you line up multiple windows side by side, say a spreadsheet next to a chat client, the curvature can make straight lines appear slightly off-center, which some users find distracting after a while. Space is the next practical consideration. A 39-inch display with a deep curve needs a fairly robust desk. The monitor's ultra-thin profile helps a bit, but you still need at least a 30-inch width of clear surface to avoid the edges hanging over the edge. If you're in a cramped apartment or share a desk with a laptop, this monitor could dominate the space and make it awkward to switch between tasks. The built-in speakers are convenient for quick sessions, but they're not a replacement for a proper headset or sound system, so expect to pair the monitor with external audio if you care about immersive sound. One of the biggest hidden trade-offs with OLED is the burn-in risk. Static UI elements like a persistent health bar, a chat window, or a trading platform's toolbar can, over many hours, start to leave faint imprints on the panel. LG includes pixel shift and log luminancy adjustment features to mitigate this, but they're not a guarantee. If your daily routine includes leaving a dashboard up for extended periods, you might need to be more diligent about screensavers or rotating UI elements. For most gamers who power down or switch content after a few hours, the risk stays low, but it's something to keep on the radar. Another practical limitation is brightness. OLEDs, even with HDR True Black 400, typically top out around 400 to 500 nits. In a bright room with windows, you may find the panel a bit dimmer than a high-end LED or mini-LED alternative. I had to raise the ambient lighting on my desk to keep the screen visible during daytime play, which is fine if you can control the lighting, but not ideal for a shared office where you can't dim the lights. Performance-wise, the monitor demands a capable GPU to push 1440p at 240 Hz. If you're still on a mid-range card, you'll likely be